Hello and welcome to the All of God's Daughters channel. This will be the last episode on the Marabel Morgan book called The Total Woman, and we will be discussing the fourth A called Appreciate Him. It might be a generational thing, it might be just the direction society started moving in, but sometimes I feel as if we have lost the ability to say thank you. Almost everyone these days seems to be guilty of some level of entitlement. So to give you an example, if you were married, maybe you are already, maybe you are listening to this because you are wanting to prepare for marriage, but if your husband bought you flowers, which of these answers do you think you would most likely give, or responses? About time. We can do this either by our deeds or our words. What do you want? This again, I ask for chocolate. Thanks, but I actually prefer roses. And the other option is just a genuine thank you. I would like to read two quotes from the book, and the first is by a lawyer who said, "As you age, you realize that nothing in this life is more valuable than loyalty, and that nothing hurts more than ungratefulness." Marabel also quotes another man who said, "I don't enjoy giving something to my wife. She doesn't appreciate anything." And she goes on to say that when a woman is ungrateful, the husband just doesn't resonate well with her. So when we are ungrateful, we are showcasing our inability to appreciate the efforts of others. We also show that we think that we deserve more, and by doing this, we make their efforts seem small. So when we show appreciation, it has two parts. So the first one is feeling thankful, and the second one is showing how thankful you are. And to truly show our appreciation to someone, we can't remove one of these. So we can show how thankful we are, but if we don't actually feel it, then the person would pick up on that, especially if they know us well. Like a husband would know when a wife is faking being thankful, or we can feel thankful and never show it, and the husband would have no idea that his wife is actually thankful for what he's doing for her. So this type of gratefulness or showing how thankful we are is actually rooted in humility. So this shows that we don't think I deserve better. I like to take it a step further and even say that we don't think that I deserve. The moment we think that, we place an expectation on somebody else to somehow meet this expectation that we have, that we deserve something. So she gives this example, and I find this quite sad and somewhat humorous, of a man who goes to the store to buy a gift, and he spends no thought at all in buying a gift for his wife. He basically just looks at the price tag, thinking that his wife will return whatever he buys her in anyway and just take the money and buy her whatever she likes. And then he turns around and spends a lot of time in choosing a gift for his secretary, who he says he greatly enjoys watching her response when she receives the gift from him. And she goes on to say that eventually this man stopped buying gifts for his wife altogether, and who would blame him? His wife didn't show any appreciation, no feeling towards the act of kindness that he showed towards her in buying her a gift. So this is not a story to scare us that if we don't show appreciation, our husband would rather buy gifts for the secretary. This is just to show us the end product of being unthankful. So what we want to have in a marriage is two people who happily serve each other. And once we kill that desire in our husband, what we are doing is we are making ourselves unserviceable. I don't know if that is a word, but I'm using that word. And I think we all understand what I mean to say by that is that we make it so displeasing for our husbands, so unsatisfying to serve us, that they just stop altogether. They lose their motivation to serve us. And I don't mean service as in our personal slave. I mean it in the biblical sense, when we give to others without expecting anything in return. And when it comes to this kind of service, what we want is to say thank you, because basically he doesn't have any command in the Bible who says or that says that he should help us around the house, or he should do us cute favors, or he should buy us flowers, and he should basically take care of his family financially. The Bible says that if anyone does not take care of his own, he is worse than an unbeliever. He has denied the faith. So we do see that the husband has the responsibility of taking care of his family. But all the little extra efforts he does around the house, buying you flowers, buying you gifts, doing cute stuff. I know cute might be a weird word, but if you're married, you'll understand what I mean by cute. And what we don't want to do is feign being thankful. That would turn him off. And what if we are genuinely not thankful for what we have received? Maybe we received the one chocolate that we really hate. We don't like the chocolate at all. Perhaps a good answer to that would be saying thank you without connecting it to the gift. So what do you connect it to then, or the action? You connect it to his effort. So you'll remember what we said in the beginning, that being ungrateful is making someone else's effort seem small or thinking that you deserved better. But showing him your appreciation for what he has done instead of what he has bought you would would solve the problem. So what we can do is we can genuinely say thank you and use loving and kind words in whichever way you would put them, and then inform him, maybe not immediately, but just that this might not be your favorite chocolate. Because if you don't say anything, he might end up buying that chocolate again and again because you said thank you, and then he might think that you actually like it, and he will eventually find out that you don't, and you don't want that type of situation. So you want to be honest, but you want to be thankful. So connect it to the man, not the thing or the action. So not the gift, not his help, just himself, the effort that he put in to do something for you. And in this chapter, she ends with a story of a wife who writes to her saying that her husband took her on a very expensive trip and that he buys her only the best thing. So I don't actually agree with the end motivation that she gives. That, oh, if you treat your husband this way, he will buy you lots of nice stuff. That's not the point either. I think that's vanity, and that's also selfish in the end. So we can consider Proverbs 15:17. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. So the point is not to get our husbands to spoil us rotten, and a book might be misinterpreted to say this is what we're working towards, and biblically speaking, it's just not. What we are aiming at is to keep the flame of love alive, to have a house where there is love, regardless of how rich or poor we are. Only a fool would argue that having nice things is better than having warm love. So I have a rule when it comes to how I make sure that I always express gratitude for my husband or towards him. And that's basically that I don't expect anything of him. And technically speaking, that is not the truth. We always have subconscious expectations. But I try to, whenever one comes up and I realize that I really want him to do this, or I have this expectation that he will and must and should and ought to and blah, 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 I try to suppress that and focus on what I have to do or what I get to do for him or the responsibilities that God gave me. So I focus on how I can serve him. And whenever he serves me back, and he does, I genuinely feel thankful because I didn't have this, oh, I deserve this, or you better, or, well, the Bible says this and that, or culture says that this and that. So whenever he does something, I'm kind of surprised. Not in a childish way, but I can genuinely be thankful because I didn't have this list of things that I think he must do. So I focus on what I need to do, and the rest just comes naturally. And then another thing is that I try to focus on the experience and not the thing. So I try to appreciate the fact that I am receiving something, that I am receiving help, that I'm receiving love, instead of whatever it is that I'm receiving. So if I'm focusing on, oh, I'm getting a chocolate, and the chocolate doesn't meet my expectations, then I might feel a bit let down. But when I'm focusing on, wow, my husband bought me a chocolate, then that kind of helps me just to keep my mindset right and to keep my heart in the right place. the end point of this is to focus on our connection with others instead of our connection with things. We want to make it a joy for our husbands to serve us. We don't want him to feel miserable. We want him to feel like a hero to us when he helps us. So I would like to read just a short paragraph that I wrote, because the words just keep jumping out of my head, and this is something that I really want to be said in this video. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it because my memory is failing me. Make it a joy for your husband to serve you. Make him feel like your hero when he does something for you. Because the truth is, even if the Bible commands a man to love his wife as his own body, it doesn't include lots of favors and gifts. It includes helping her survive. Granted, many people tend to neglect the emotional side of our existence. We need more than a roof and food. We need love. So if he is wise, he will know that providing for his own is more than just financial provision. And if we are wise, we will not demand his efforts as if we are more important than he is. And this comes down to the beauty of being thankful, which, according to me, is a great virtue, something that we would really benefit from learning how to do, and it would also just soften our husbands' hearts towards us. And another mental attitude I would like to talk about is this notion that somebody or the world or whoever owes us something. This is crucial for a healthy marriage. You can't enter the marriage thinking that your husband owes you something, even if to some degree it is true that God gave him commands, God gave him responsibilities. He owes that obedience to God. You are not the authoritative figure that put those rules, or I want to say responsibilities, in place. That was God. So technically, if he doesn't do that, he has an issue between him and God. You don't actually have any right or power to judge him or force him to change or anything like that. So when it comes to rights, we don't really have them. And it might sound very extreme. I'm not talking in the extremes. I'm just talking generally speaking. So I have this rule that if I want it, I'll do it myself. And if I really can't do it myself, I'll humbly go to my husband and let him know what I need, what I want, or even what my expectations are, without expecting or demanding it of him to go and do it right now. Whenever he feels like doing it, whenever it is placed on his heart, sure, then I'll be very happy when he does it. But if at some stage he just doesn't get to it, or maybe he really doesn't want to, I let it go, or I try to. I don't have a list in my head of things that I still want my husband to do, or that stuff that he still owes me. I can't really think of. I don't have a list like that. I let it go. I'll make a plan if I really need to. The other thing that we want to do then is, if he reacts, we want to let the love and appreciation flow from us like a steady stream that nourishes our marriage. So I'm going to read something again, because this actually makes me quite emotional, and I'm afraid that if I have to just say this, that I'll start crying. So I'm going to read this, and I might sound like a robot, but it is because I'm trying to control my emotions. My husband brings me tea every day, several times a day. This is me speaking. I wrote this. He really likes his coffee and his cocoa. He covers me with blankets at night, even puts on some socks for me if my feet are cold and I'm already in bed. If I forgot my water for the night, he goes to get it. He cleans around the house whenever he gets a chance. He says please and thank you. He runs across the road to buy me my favorite chocolate snack when I'm sad. He takes over making food when I'm having a bad back pain that day, or even when something bad happened and I feel sad. When I don't do my part, he never yells at me or complains. He simply says everyone has bad days. Whenever I make a meal and I put in some extra effort, he comes to the table with wide, sparkling eyes and says, "Whoa, this looks so good." He once said, "You took a bit longer than usual, so I decided not to come to the kitchen because I thought it was a surprise." How considerate. That really just makes me want to put in that amount of effort every time. So I can really say, as somebody who receives this genuine heart of thankfulness when I do something for him, that this motivates me to keep going. This motivates me to try harder. And I, of course, also receive gifts from him and acts of kindness from him. And this just makes for a very wonderful atmosphere in the house. When he does something, I say thank you. I do something, he says thank you. I really can testify that that does something to a person's heart. And sadly, I don't think I would have noticed all the small and precious gifts he gives me every day if I sat waiting at home, thinking when he enters again, he will have a bouquet of flowers for me. So if I had this expectation for something very specific, I would have missed what he is giving me. If you're thinking of getting married, if you are already married, then I really encourage you to do some introspection and ask yourself, not only how able are you to identify things that you ought to be thankful for, but also how good are you at expressing how thankful you are. Do you still think that you deserve better? Are you still waiting for the world, for someone to give you what you deserve or to treat you the way you deserve to be treated? Or are you thankful when someone breaks the cycle of reality to be a blessing to you? I hope that this video was helpful, and I pray that God will help you in your future marriage or in your current marriage to truly have a heart that is able to recognize when to be thankful and also to express it. I hope to see you in the next video.